We pick up with chapter 5 called Spring Muckout. The snow was beginning to melt around the cabin, but we still had flurries. Winter hated to go. We had heard of cabin fever, but so far had not been affected by it. However, one day Bess Moore suggested that Max and I should take a trip down to Denver for a change of scene. "The grass is probably already green down there," she said. That was all I needed. "I can take care of the children," Bess Moore offered, "and maybe teach them how to make Norwegian lefse." Welcoming her fine offer, we decided to try it out for one day and a night. One day and a night was enough in the city. I already missed seeing the children playing around the cabin in their bulky, roly-poly clothes, looking like a couple of little bear cubs themselves. Arriving home, we found all was fine, except that Bess Moore was a bit upset by something which had happened in the night. She was about to fall asleep when she heard stomping around on the roof of the cabin just over her head. She guessed that some kids from Dillon, joyriding around, had decided to have fun and climb the roof of the cabin. She knew this could be easily done, since the roof on the north side slanted almost to the ground. Taking a flashlight, she went out the front door on the south side, but she could see nothing. Waving the flashlight around, she called out, "You get off there!" Total silence. She went back into the cabin, waited for a while, and then fell sound asleep. Well, Max and I were puzzled because she said she hadn't seen any car. We went around to the back of the cabin. There were huge bear paw tracks in the snow on the roof. We discovered that the original main cabin at our ranch was built in 1869. After getting all the flowery wallpaper off, plus the rotted brown cheesecloth glued to the hand-hewn logs, Max found newspapers stuffed into the cracks between the logs and some nailed to the walls. One of these he gingerly peeled off. It was brittle and brown with age and mouse droppings. He was amazed to discover that it was a London paper dated 1869. Cleaning the cabin was something. Max had a dust-filtering mask, which the cat skinners in the Pacific Northwest use when they are logging in the dry and dusty season. I also really needed it. With a fervor to get really down to the logs, I attacked the old wallpaper. Max had given me a rake with sharp points so I could tear into the paper and cheesecloth. It was quite an operation. I took the rake, and with a swing at the Arabian tent-like ceiling, I ripped through the wallpaper. The cheesecloth had first been tacked from joist to joist, and then the wallpaper had been glued to it. Due to many years of either affluence, when the mines paid off, or the overnight guests at the stagecoach stop could afford the rates, or years of scanty income, we found the story of their good or lean days. First, there were layers of gilded paper, then rather ordinary paper, and then layers of newspaper. Along the walls in the two upper loft rooms, we found that they had resorted to stuffing the cracks with bright pink, worn-out silk underwear. Covering all this, to keep out the cold drafts, the walls were lined with cardboard curtains opened up and nailed to the logs. Some of these even had the name of the grocery store that was still in existence in Dillon, Sondrager's Grocery, which my good friend Irma Feaster had been leasing back in that summer of '42. With my rake, I took my first hearty swipe at the ceiling. Down came a big swath of paper and dust. I fled outside into the bright sun until the dust settled. Max had built a big bonfire so I could shovel all the muck, as the miners called it, onto the fire. Using the borrowed Forest Service portable pump and water tank, we cleaned the logs with water pressure. I then used a broom and a knife to remove what was left of the old mud chinking. The first time after the dust had settled, I went back in, but the sun and snow patches outside had blinded me a bit for the darker room inside. Something hit me in the face. Backing away in alarm, I waited for my eyes to adjust. Then I saw it. From a single strand of cheesecloth hung the skeleton of a pack rat. This had struck me directly in the face as it swung to and fro. I hit it with my rake. Now I knew what the miners meant when they said, "I gotta muck out my cabin." Max had brought out from Washington some wire rope that he'd used while logging there. He literally wrapped these cables around the old long log lean-to, which was attached to the main house. Using these cables, he'd back up the cat and it would all tumble down. Later in the spring, we sawed these logs into fireplace lengths. When our fireplace would be built, we knew we'd have a good supply of unpeeled logs. In May, we decided we'd better move out of the Alhambra cabin to be nearer our own ranch work. There was an old two-room cabin near our ranch house beside the road. We had heard from our friends in Longview, Washington, the Ganongs, that they would like to come out to see what Colorado mountain country was like. We wondered where they could stay. Also, Max's mother and father had decided that they'd like to live near us in Colorado. Edna and Earl Ganong wrote that they had sold their house in Longview. They planned to bring their two children, Eleanor and Joanna, and also Edna's Swedish mother. Our letters must have painted a tempting picture. We had written them that there might be a ski area going in. That is, if the money could be raised to do the job. What decided or prompted Max's parents, we weren't quite sure, except Max's mother had fallen in love with Colorado the first time she had seen the high mountain country. They wrote us that they had sold their home and would be shipping all their furniture, and for us to keep an eye out for it. After Bessmore had cleaned out the cabin near the road, we moved in. Bessmore had made many friends in the county. One day she announced that we could let the Ganongs use her Alhambra cabin. She was going down the Blue River, that is, to a ranch to cook for the ranch hands who were irrigating and would later be haying in August. I knew she was looking forward to this because there hadn't been much for her to do at all at the cabin. Before leaving, she bought us another home comfort cook stove for $15, which she had found in Idaho Springs. We were all set to welcome the Ganongs, but what about Max's parents?